By now, most of you have heard about the textbook shortage in Limpopo. In case you haven't, or haven't had the chance to research the issue thoroughly, simply, there are thousands of school children who in Limpopo either have the incorrect textbooks or have no textbooks at all. Awareness in collectively dealing with issues such as these in a responsible manner is critical to fostering a constitutional democracy that functions outside of the paper that it's written on. This is not a political debate. For me, this is not about the ANC, it is not about the DA, it's not about any political body or any political person or indeed any corporate entity. For me, this is about the thousands of school kids who in Limpopo, more than halfway through the school years, still do not have access to adequate textbooks, or in fact do not have any textbooks at all. The amount of media coverage this issue has received, and rightfully so, has meant that some of the key issues are perhaps being hidden. The constitutional right to democracy is an absolute one. It cannot be limited, it cannot be swept aside. As I see it, as a society, as a group of South Africans, we've let these kids down. If we're going to look at this bluntly, we've cost them a year of their lives. In April 2010, just prior to the euphoric 2010 World Cup fever, a government municipal worker, Soli Shitangano, questions a tender for teacher support learner material, simply that is textbooks. He's not given a formal response to his questions, and in May 2010, the tender is advertised in the Sowetan newspaper. Several companies are shortlisted for the textbook tender. Ultimately, only one out of all of those companies qualifies for the criteria. That company is called Edu Solutions, and ultimately they are appointed to provide textbooks to the school children of Limpopo. A service level agreement is finalized between the government and Edu Solutions. Interestingly, the service level agreement contains a provision whereby a discount is shared between Edu Solutions and the government. In other words, every time an invoice is raised, a discount is passed back to both the government and to Edu Solutions. By way of example, it's been reported in mainstream media that an invoice was raised, their first invoice, for 108 million. Of this amount, a discount of 30 million rand was granted, and these monies were shared between the government and Edu Solutions. It is still unclear what the monies were spent on. However, there are various arms of government who are looking into the issue, and we understand that a forensic audit is currently underway. In December 2011, a constitutional intervention on the grounds of financial mismanagement is brought to the courts of South Africa. Essentially, what this means is that national government assumes obligation and assumes control of a national department of government. In other words, simply put, typically we have a situation where government is run on a provincial level. What's happened here is that national government has intervened, they thought there's a problem, they thought the problem can't be fixed, they've assumed all of the obligations and they've assumed control of the Limpopo Department of Education. By January 2012, the National Department is now in control of the Department of Education in Limpopo. They see a need to brief a senior legal advocate on the constitutionality of the tender and the service level agreement concluded between Edu Solutions and the government. The advocate who is briefed questions the constitutionality of the tender, and ultimately his view is that the tender is unconstitutional. Further, in the opinion that he provides to national government, he concludes that the service level agreement between the government and Edu Solutions is questionable. By now, national government is in control of the education situation in Limpopo. A concerned NGO, Section 27, sees fit to bring a court application against government to compel it to comply with its obligations. Ultimately, the court finds in favour of Section 27, the NGO, and forces government to provide the school children of Limpopo with textbooks by no later than the 15th of June. Furthermore, governments are compelled to file a catch-up plan detailing how they intend to go about remedying the situation. By the 21st of June, it becomes apparent that the school children of Limpopo have not been provided with full or accurate textbooks. A settlement is reached on the 21st of June between government and the National Department of Education, whereby they agree to extend the court deadline. By the 27th of June, the NGO who initially brought the court application, they are informed that 98% of textbooks are in schools. They dispute the veracity of this figure, and ultimately an independent commission headed by Professor Mary Metcalf is appointed to get to the bottom of it. In summary, the report found the following. Provincial government of Limpopo was unable to order books for the last academic year, being the year of 2012 that we're currently in, because the budget was overspent. National government had intervened due to financial mismanagement. A presidential team was appointed to investigate the issue further. The order for books were only placed with publishers in February 2012. In conclusion, the report recommended the following: a communication mechanism to enable schools and stakeholders to request books and monitor delivery and receipt of full, accurate orders. To understand the amount that will be required to fulfill requirements for the following year. A plan for the efficient delivery must be put in place. Researchers of Professor Metcalf's team found that there were warehouses throughout South Africa with unused textbooks. Finally, a full audit from top to bottom. We await the results. In the process of researching and preparing for the show, we had the opportunity to talk to one of the lawyers from Section 27, Nikki Stein.
The provincial department was found to be in violation of its constitutional obligations, which is why the national department stepped in. The bottom line is that we need to get books into schools and we need a satisfactory catch-up plan to be put in place. And actually, until Professor Metcalf's report came out, there was no guarantee that there would be budget for books for next year, which means that we would have been back in court on the first day of school next year when there were no books.
As you heard, it does appear as if government have been struggling to fulfill their requirements in terms of the catch-up plan and supplying all the children of Limpopo with accurate and full textbooks. Having researched the issue thoroughly, having had the opportunity to speak to the lawyer from Section 27, Nikki Stein, and having spent hours reading the various court documents, I must conclude the following. Regional government grossly mismanaged their finances. Ultimately, they were placed in a form of administration by national government. National government took over the process and they failed to remedy the situation. Solisha Tangano, the government official who initially questioned the tender, was fired. Court orders, various legal wranglings have gone on, and it appears as if the court orders have not been fully complied with. The media appears to have focused their coverage on the blame game, political parties, sabotage, various other things. For me, we've got school children in Limpopo who are not moving forward and are losing their opportunity to education. We've got a corporate entity, EduSolutions, who are claiming that they've done no wrong, and in fact they welcome any audit. National government and the minister involved appears to be placing the blame at sabotage and the lack of a budget. We need to make education a priority. It is an enabler to a sustainable and prosperous future.